So a while back, I made a video about how to make a team cards section where when you overlap on the individual photo, it zoomed in smooth and zoomed out. Now, since then, GenerateBlocks 2.0 has come out, and needless to say, it has complicated a few things in the builder in order to achieve this. So today, I'm going to create an updated video to show you how to create this same effect using GB 2.0. Alright, so here is what we're going to look to achieve. We've got a team section with cards where you have a background image, and when it hovers, it zooms in on the individual's photo. We've also got their job titles and their names, and a nice little drop shadow here on the background of the content in order to be able to read it. Alright, so let's dive into how we build this out. Alright, so I'm on the page where I built it previously so that I could show you what we were going after. So we're going to go ahead and just rebuild it on the same page so we can quickly reference the finished product below. So I've got a container here with a inner container. Now that inner container, I'm going to go ahead and select Display Grid. And under Grid Layout, I'm going to choose the 3-column layout here. And we're going to go ahead and inside that grid add 3 containers for our 3 individuals. Now we're going to go ahead and just build out the first card and then duplicate it and swap out the info. Alright, so what we need to do first is, when you look at this, you might think this is actually a background image on the container. However, my friend over at the admin bar, Kyle Van Duzen, he put out an awesome video showcasing why you should stop doing this. It is not good for accessibility, and there is a different approach and workaround to achieving these background images without losing out on the accessibility importance. So what we need to do is set that up so that we can achieve the same effect, and in the long run it's actually going to be a lot easier because we're going to be able to target things without having to use a bunch of different pseudo classes. So on this card, what we need to do is go ahead and actually add that image in first. So we'll choose our woman here, and then below that we're going to add another container, and this container is what's going to hold our content. And so we can go ahead and add text, and I'll write owner. I have a little class here for sub headline. It's got a style that I use all the time. And then we're going to go ahead and add one more for, let's see, what was her name? Jane Wilson. Now this is an H3. And on our subheading here, I'm going to go ahead and zero out the bottom margin just so it tightens those up together. Alright, so we got our basics in place. We've got our container holding our content. We've got that image in place above it. And then we've got our outer container here. Now, how we're going to make this turn into a background image is a little bit of CSS and a global class. So if you check out Kyle's video, he shares with you the CSS here to achieve it using the CSS class image-background. Now, I recommend you go ahead and just throw this code right into your child theme, as I use it all the time and have built in the global class into my starter site as well. So since I have the CSS already in place on my site, all I need to do is create that global style for image-background and choose it on the outer container holding all of our content. And so if you have the styles enqueued to show the CSS within the builder, you'll be able to see that take place on your site. So next, what we need to do is make some adjustments. Obviously, you can see the container collapse to the size of my inner container that holds my content. So with the container selected, we're going to go to sizing, and I'm going to say min height about 400 pixels. So that way it gives enough space so we could see the picture of the individual. And From there, we also need to add a border radius. So as you can see, we've got a border radius all the way around. And I've got a class here that I use, border medium. And you're not going to actually see it take place because we've got the image here that is interrupting, I guess, so to speak, the border radius from showing. But what we can do is on our container, the outer container here, come down to position and overflow X and overflow Y set to clip. And there you have it. Now you can see the border radius. So essentially it's just clipping that image corners so that it didn't show the hard edges. Instead, it showed the border radius. So now we need to get our text down at the bottom of our container. And so we're going to select our container that is holding our content. And what we first need to do is set the height to 100% so that it spans the full height of our card on the outer container. And then we're going to go ahead and set the layout to flex. And we'll change the flex layout to column. And then choose align left and justify content to the bottom. So now we can see the text is down there in the bottom left. We do need to zero out the bottom padding or bottom margin, on our H3. And then on our container here, I'm going to go ahead and add my global class for padding medium. So that way it pushes our text away from the edges. Of course, if you don't have a helper class, what you can do is go in the container spacing and set some padding all the way around your container there. Now we'll go ahead and change the text color of both of these to white. And then we're going to add the background shadow now here on our container so that we can read that text a little bit easier. So with that container selected holding our text, we're going to come down to backgrounds, add new, and change that to gradient. Now we want this to be black on the bottom and then 0 opacity for the second color. Now the angle is going to be 90 degrees, or no, excuse me, 360 I believe, yes, 360. And then we're going to bring down that second color that's holding the 0 opacity maybe to about 40%. That looks pretty good. We can read the text now a lot better. All right, now the last piece to this puzzle is creating that hover effect. So as you can see, again, when we hover over the card, it is transitioning the background image, scaling it up, and then transitioning back after you hover. So what we need to do is come to our container, and we've got to create a class that targeting the image when it's hovered. And so when we come with our outer container selected, we choose our little toggle, and we're going to choose to create a new selector. So I'm going to choose hover and focus, and then put a space and add IMG at the end. So I'm going to say when I hover over this container, target the image. And we'll hit create. And with this class selected, we're going to go ahead and come on down to effects. And we're going to say transform and create a new transform. We'll choose scale. I like to go up only to about 1.1. So that when you hover, it only zooms in a little bit. I feel like if you zoom in too much, say 1.5, it's too close. And so it's just a small effect, right? So we're going to go ahead and save that. So now we have the effect in place, but you can see it's very rigid. And we want that effect to be much smoother. So going back to our main container, we're going to now open up our selectors, create a new one, and a new selector we're going to do is just image. And with this selector on the image, we're going to create a transition. And we're going to choose ease in out. We're going to go ahead and leave the rest all the same defaults, half a second, 0 delay, and hit check. So now when I hover over that image, it's creating that smooth transition in and out for us. So we can go ahead and hit save. We'll go check out our front end of our page, and in comparison it's looking pretty identical. Looks great. So now how we create the rest of them is first delete these other two containers, then we can go ahead and duplicate this 2 more times. Now you can see we need a little bit of column gap in between our cards. So I'm going to choose my grid, come on down to the grid layout, and put 1 rim in column gap, and go ahead and add 1 rim in row gap so that responsively when we come down to mobile, we can set up the grid template columns to 1, and it's already got that 1 rim of row gap for us. Alright, so now when you come in to swap out the information, we come to the images, go ahead and select our next person, and we say John Smith. He is the manager. Then we come over to this image, swap it out to our next team member. She is the designer, and her name is Elizabeth Alcorn. Alright, perfect. So we'll go ahead and save that and take a look on the front end, refresh, and there you have it. So we've got our 3 team members with the nice smooth hover effect transitioning in and out on hover. And if we go ahead and jump into the customizer, we could take a look on mobile. Looks great. And then on tablet, that also looks great. I thought I would have to adjust it, but I think the 3-column layout still works great for tablet. Alright, so that's one approach for creating a team cards layout using GenerateBlocks 2.0. Again, this is probably a little bit a different approach, but it keeps accessibility in mind because these images are not just decorative, they're actually important because they're showing that team member. So we don't want to create those as background images on our container, but rather as actual images, and then use that image-background class to be able to position it how we want into the background. With the use of a couple of classes, you could create these types of sections even quicker than what I showed you today. So always look for more opportunities you can add more global classes to help speed up your workflow and consistency. Thanks a lot for watching. I really would appreciate if you would subscribe to my channel, and we'll see you soon.